So here's a little video about how being cheap can cost you. So roughly about 25, well, really more like 20 years ago. No, more like 25 years ago. I'm really old. I keep forgetting. I had an opportunity to get a cover done by Tim Bradstreet. Now, I'm talking 25 years ago. We're talking like it's 96, 97, 98, when it is the moment in time where Vampire is like selling like hotcakes and people are really into it. And Tim Bradstreet had become like the artist that everybody was into for doing all the stuff he was working on. That I mean, Tim Bradstreet was legitimately killing it in the art world, and everyone was raving about how great he was and the stuff he did and da da da. So at the same time, I was working on my role playing game called, well, initially back then it was called Point Blank, but then it evolved to currently Haven City of Violence. And it was one of those situations where I kept saying, "Oh, I need to get a really good artist on this. Who'd be a really good artist if I could pick anybody?" And I was like, "Oh, Tim Bradstreet. Tim Bradstreet would be the guy I'd want to do a cover because he's amazing. It's gonna look amazing. It's gonna have the right kind of look that I'm trying to go for." And I mean, it was everything that I thought I wanted it to be, and I didn't even realize how awesome it was. I mean, I was like, "Yeah, I want to do it," but it's Tim Bradstreet, and I knew it was gonna cost some money, but I was like, okay, well maybe I can swing this. Maybe I can do something to swing this. Let me see if I can try to pull this off. So I got his contact information, and this is like we're talking pre-internet. Well, there's a little bit of internet, but it was like this is before MySpace, before most everything you ever heard of, before Friendster. I mean, the internet is like I can't even call it the internet. It was like the proto internet. So I found his personal information and I got it and I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I'm a role playing guy and he'd done role playing, so he knew what the money was about because we knew role playing games didn't have any money back then. We're talking 96, you're talking, before even PDF sales. And I told him, hey, I'm a big fan of your work. I just want to know if I'd be interested, working with you. How much would it cost to get a cover done by you? And he tells me, and he's like, oh, because you're an RPG guy, I know you ain't got a lot of money. How about $500? Now, looking at it now, $500, I would have done that second, not even a second thought. It'd been easy, like, yeah, $500, easy. Come on, man, what are you talking about? But we're talking back when I was like 26, 27, where $500 was real money. That was like, oh, I don't, ooh. And so, I thought about it for a long time, and I mean a long time. And I was really worried about like, oh, can I afford this? Can I do this? Is he really worth it? Da da da. Oh, it's Tim Bradstreet. And I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it really just drove me crazy. I mean, literally drove me crazy. I decided, hey, this is really expensive. I don't know if I'm able to do this. Let me just say no. Let me just be honest. I don't know if I can do this. Let me say no. So I said no, and I thanked him and everything, and boom, went on. A couple years later, I got the cover for Haven City of Violence, which is the one you've probably seen. It's a painted color cover, and it's a good cover. Don't get me wrong, it's an awesome cover. Love it. It's very more Matrix influenced, more than the gritty black and white that I would have been doing at the time. But the funny part is that $500 is what kept me from doing that. Just $500. And if I had done that, I would have had an original piece of Tim Bradstreet art that I could have had forever for $500. It wasn't later that I found out, and this is what, oh my God, oof. Much later I found out, like, what Tim Bradstreet was charging real people for covers and that kind of stuff. Like, he was charging like 4 or 5 grand for a cover. So he was doing me a huge favor, but even at the time, I didn't know. And, he said it like this: I was so cheap, I didn't take the great opportunity, and that was stupid. So, do yourself a favor. If you get an opportunity to spend a little bit of money on something, and maybe it might be a little bit outside your range what you're used to or make you comfortable, do it anyway. Just do it. You're going to be happy in the end. You'll be able to talk about it. You'll be thankful that you did. And like I said, I always regret that I never got a Tim Bradstreet cover. Always regret that. Don't get me wrong. I love the cover we got, but you know, in the back recesses of my mind, I let $500 separate me from a Tim Bradstreet cover. You know, that just sounds silly, but that's what happens. So, always take the chance. It's always better to take the chance. You never regret taking a chance doing something awesome. What can I say? Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Do us a huge favor. If you like what we talked about, go down below, click the thumbs up button. If you hate what we talk about, click the thumbs down. We're good either way. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.